All right, so let's talk about this billionaire space race that has been going on between billionaires like Jeff Bezos and Richard Branson that have decided to jet off to near space, and we're going to get into that in a second. But they've decided to jet off into the atmosphere in order to stroke their own egos and pretend as if they are part of this big, bold innovation when really they're doing shit that NASA did, 60, 50 years ago. And they're doing it in this effort to create a propaganda campaign. And this propaganda campaign has been peddled by the U.S. media and is continuing right now. So let's just read some of the details, and then we're going to get into how ridiculous this entire situation actually is. So Jeff Bezos launched into space and unfortunately successfully returned. In his New Shepard rocket, a publicity stunt for space tourism for the elite, Bezos made $75 billion in 2020 and says he spends $1 billion a year on Blue Origin spacecraft. He cut Amazon workers $2 an hour pandemic hazard pay after just 3 months. Important context there. Jeff Bezos landed back on Earth again, unfortunately, after his space flight. He plans to charge the elite about $300,000 per seat for space tourism flights. Bezos made over $11 million every day or every hour of the pandemic, while Amazon warehouse workers made an average of $15 an hour, spending up to 12 hours on their feet. And that $15 an hour, you might think, whoa, that's above minimum wage, but it's actually below significantly what the average for warehouse workers is in the United States, which is upwards of over $20. So he's underpaying his employees, etc. We know the exploitation that has been going on at Amazon. And as Rob importantly points out here, which is one of the things that almost nobody has been talking about, at least in the mainstream media coverage of this, is it's suborbital, right? So as he points out there, this motherfucker did not even go to space. Pathetic. I mean, he creates this entire hype campaign, him and Richard Branson, as if, oh, we're breaking the boundaries that humanity has never crossed. These guys did not even go into real space. Okay, they were going into fake space. They were going into the atmosphere and then turning around and pretending like it was some big, bold, innovative experience. No, it wasn't. And it's really, honestly pathetic, as Rob points out there. But the media, right? So we have Jim Sciutto here from CNN. Excuse my mostly incurable optimism, but could 2 successful private space launches in 9 days be something all Americans can rally around together? So listen, the propaganda has been completely ridiculous in this, especially coming from Jeff Bezos' own article or own news publication that he owns from the Washington Post. They have been running stories of how, oh, this space race is about all of us needing to come together in this moment to rally behind these. I mean, it's completely ridiculous, okay? This entire narrative, as everybody is pointing out and rightfully roasting and ratioing Jim Sciutto into oblivion here. I mean, listen, this is not something that we can all rally around. Why? Because the entire reason why NASA during the Cold War was able to build up all of this public support for the space race and for traveling to space in general was, one, because there was a lot of nationalism sprinkled in there, which, you can debate the merits of that, but 2, it was kind of cool because as an American, you would get to watch this and take part in it knowing, hey, maybe my tax dollars were funding some of this. Hey, maybe this is something that we as a collective American people can get behind because it's something that is a publicly funded institution like NASA. So that's why people would not be able to get behind a couple of billionaires going up and doing something that NASA did 60 years ago in an effort to stroke their own egos. I mean, why the fuck would anybody care about this, let alone use this as an opportunity to rally around each? It's just completely ridiculous. But this is what you get from out-of-touch CNN reporters here. So continuing on, after this successful re-entry into Earth, Jeff Bezos came out and said this, which is really just the icing on the cake, and really just a slap in the face to all of these Amazon workers that have been subjected to horrific conditions by the likes of Jeff Bezos. So here's what he had to say returning down to Earth.
And then I want to thank every Amazon employee and every Amazon customer, because you guys paid for all of this. So seriously, for every Amazon customer out there and every Amazon employee, thank you from the bottom of my heart very much.
So, I mean, again, just a complete and total slap in the face. We've seen all of the examples of some of the horrific conditions that Amazon workers have been subjected to over the years. And, this continues. I mean, Amazon workers have been, we saw the stories that came out, pissing and shitting in bags and bottles on the job in order to meet these ridiculous quotas that Amazon's algorithms set up for them at risk of being fired and losing their jobs. So, we had other stories of Amazon workers collapsing on the floor in their warehouses and nobody going to attend them for ridiculous amounts of time. We have people dying on the job. We have all of these things that add up to the underpaying of Amazon workers. So we have all of these things that add up to a situation where, why the fuck would you say this? Why the fuck would you ever say this in a slap in the face to these Amazon workers? So you're exploiting them. You're taking the value that they are producing for your company and then using it to go jump out into space and then turning around and thanking them. I mean, it's just completely ridiculous. And as adequately pointed out here by AOC, yes, Amazon workers did pay for this with lower wages, union busting, a frenzied and inhumane workplace, and delivery drivers not having health insurance during a pandemic, and Amazon customers are paying for it, with Amazon abusing their market power to hurt small businesses. So yes, he's right. Amazon consumers, as well as their employees, have been paying for this, and they've been paying for it in the worst ways humanly imaginable. So this is not something that anybody should be celebrating or excited about. And if anything, we should use this as an opportunity to continue to push the idea that yes, we do need a wealth tax. Billionaires should not exist in a country that is the richest country in the history of humanity, while we have homeless people sleeping out on the streets. It's a completely ridiculous and absurd system that Jeff Bezos would love to continue to maintain. And all the while, I mean, these are not the only things. In addition to this, how is he paying for this? Well, Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos didn't pay any income taxes for at least 2 years between 2006 and 2018. So we have those recent ProPublica reports, and this is just saying any income taxes, but he pays basically no income taxes ever, okay? And this is the way that their money is shuffled around, the way that they are able to go and get loans from banks and leverage their assets that they do have. They never have to actually cash out. They never have to actually really use any of their real money or pay any taxes on the value of their assets. And that's the way that our economic structure is set up to benefit these billionaires, to benefit their corporations as well. Why Amazon paid no federal taxes in 2018. So, I mean, listen, this is a situation that we have right now. We have a situation where Americans are pushed to the brink, especially over the course of the pandemic. We had Americans lining up in food lines to feed their families that had never had to do that in their entire lives. We have, over 70% of the country living paycheck to paycheck, and that was before the pandemic and the consequences that ensued following it. We have all of these, we have that recent story that just came out again, reaffirming that nowhere, not a single county in the entire United States, can a minimum wage worker afford a bedroom and for them and their families. So we have completely unaffordable housing. We have completely unaffordable healthcare. We have a ridiculous situation here in which a vast majority of the American people are struggling and barely getting by. Meanwhile, we have all of these billionaires who are deciding to do this little space race where they're not even innovating, they're not even doing anything that we can get behind. And then we have the media trying to circle the wagons around them and celebrate this as if it's some grand achievement for humanity in general. So listen, the lesson that to take from this is, again, billionaire wealth taxes, right? I don't think we should have a situation in which billionaires even exist. I think every billionaire is a policy failure, and therefore there are policies that could remedy those failures. I mean, it would only cost about $20 billion to completely eradicate homelessness in this country. So Jeff Bezos single-handedly could completely eradicate homelessness in this country and still be left with like $180 billion in his current wealth. So it's a completely ridiculous situation that we have right now. Capitalism obviously failing, and billionaires are trying to prop themselves up as this shining example of the future and innovation. Meanwhile, they're really just trying to push a propaganda campaign to justify their own existence and this ridiculous wealth that they continue to accumulate and amass off of the backs of their workers.